Crypto is dead.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to Compound Interesting. In today's video, I want to discuss whether Bitcoin and crypto is getting its final capitulation, its last leg down, and why I think that might be the case, and how I'm planning to approach the next weeks and months as Bitcoin hopefully finds, and crypto hopefully finds a bottom and maybe enters a nice accumulation phase at bargain basement prices. First, we have to discuss the two enormous pieces of news that have come out recently. First of all, crypto has just got its Lehman Brothers moment. If you remember in 2008 when Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, well, the exact same thing has happened with FTX. The second biggest exchange in the entire world just went BK, just went tits up. So that's obviously one of the biggest catalysts for this most recent drop. So I think there's going to be more fallout from basically Alameda going bankrupt. I won't get too into the technicals because I'm sure you're all very versed up on what happened between FTX and Binance and all that, so I won't get too into the bogged down in the details, but there's definitely going to be some more fallout to come because of Alameda going bankrupt. So Alameda was like the sister company of FTX, also owned by Sam Bankman-Fried, or Sam Bankman-Fraud. But it is likely that people were exposed, like more than just FTX were exposed to Alameda, and there's more blow-ups to come from Alameda going tits up. This catalyst, as well as any more fallout that is to come from Alameda going and FTX going bankrupt, I think that will hopefully be the final capitulation for crypto, and will flush out all the leverage in crypto finally. And it's absolutely crazy to me how much of crypto's move over the last 2 years was fueled by leverage, and the only way we can get back to a healthy accumulation phase is to completely wipe out all the leverage in crypto again and start from a fair price, a fair range again, and that's probably around the prices that we are at now, unfortunately. So when the Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, they went bankrupt in September 2008, and the market bottom wasn't until 6 months later in March of 2009. So when Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, it took 6 months for the market to bottom. So crypto obviously moves a lot faster, and Lehman Brothers was probably one of the first banks to go bankrupt, whereas we've already had 3AC and Celsius a few months ago, and hopefully FTX is the last big thing to go bankrupt. Like if Binance goes bankrupt or USDT goes bankrupt, that's going to be another major knock. But hopefully we'll find a bottom in the next weeks and months, as crypto tends to move a little bit faster than the stock market. But what followed this deleveraging event in the 2008 crash? What happened after Lehman Brothers and all those other mortgage and banks went bankrupt? What followed in the real estate market? We had a 10-year bull market. That's what happens when the real estate is in a healthy place. You can get a bull market that lasts years and years and years. Unfortunately, in the last few years, there has been a lot of leverage in the real estate market, and it's looking like the real estate market is going to crash again. However, that's a long time away. But just for me, what am I planning on doing over the next few weeks and months? How am I planning on investing if this is the final capitulation event? For me, this is starting to feel very eerily similar to 2018. I went through the last bear market, and there was a final capitulation event that brought Bitcoin's price. I think it's easiest to talk about Bitcoin because that's the one everyone remembers, but it brought Bitcoin's price from 6k down to 3k, and that was kind of the nail in the coffin for Bitcoin. And basically after that, pretty much everyone left the space, everyone forgot about crypto. And unfortunately, I think for Bitcoin and crypto to really bottom, I think we need that to happen again properly. We need articles saying Bitcoin is dead, crypto is dead, and we need people to really just leave the space. All the majority of the retail folk who came in, we need them to forget about it and completely leave, and they don't even have to sell their coins, but just this interest and this hype has got to go pretty much. Unfortunately, that's what I think has to happen. And if you're still watching this video, you can be one of the few people who stick around and manage to invest during the bear market and invest at the very bargain basement prices and become one of those people that you hear about in the next cycle has made a fortune. But you do have to stick around the space. You do have to keep on top of things. You do have to put up with a lot of pain to get through these bear markets. I won't sugarcoat it. Okay, so the first cycle there was like a 95% drawdown from peak to trough. The second cycle, we can see here, there was an 87% drop. These are rough numbers, but it's about accurate. And the third one, the most recent one from 2017 down to 2018, bottomed I think in December 2018 roughly. That was an 84% drop. So we go from 95% down to 87% down to 84% down. Now I think most people were like, okay, the drawdown's going to be less because it's getting less each and every time. I wouldn't put too much. And the other argument that the drawdown would be less is that we didn't go as high as many people were expecting. We didn't really get a blow off top. However, we are in a bit of a different scenario. We didn't get a blow off top, but we did get a recession, and the economy is in absolute shambles, and crypto has never lived through that before. So I think anywhere from an 80 to 90% drop, anywhere in that range for the maximum bottom. The most likely maximum bottom, in my opinion, of course I could be entirely wrong, I think it's in the 80 to 90% range, which lies from 90% drawdown from 69,000 is obviously down to 6,900. So that would be a 90% drop, which would be very low, obviously, and up to like a $13,000 Bitcoin, which would be an 80% drop. So somewhere in that range, I think there's a likelihood that Bitcoin could breach 10k, because I think that would really signal, oh, Bitcoin is dead, crypto is dead. It would really, it would hurt a lot of people, and unfortunately that's what crypto does. It always goes lower than you can imagine. The lowest we've got so far is 77%, so we've gotten pretty close to 13,000, but not quite there. But yeah, pretty damn low. Maybe that was the bottom, who knows, but I'd say on balance of probabilities we could go down 80% plus. I think that would make a lot of sense. And in that scenario, how am I planning to approach it? Maybe first we'll mention the positive news. So there was a little bit of positive news, which is finally inflation has started to come down. So inflation, the CPI data came in, it was finally lower than expected. So it was expected at 7.9%, and it only came in at 7.7%. So that's a big sigh of relief, and that gives the Fed a bit of breathing room to maybe not have to hike so aggressively the interest rates, and maybe they can calm down the interest rate hikes a little bit. But we'll see what happens with that. But that's an absolute a real weight off the shoulders that the inflation is finally starting to tame. And if inflation has peaked and starts coming down month over month, a few times in a row, that's really bullish. It's great for not just the markets, but just great for the economy as well, and people's lives will be improved if inflation does finally start to calm down. And the markets will probably do well in that scenario. But do I think crypto is going to come straight back and start going to the moon again? No, I think it still has a year or two of down or / sideways action. So once it bottoms, I think it's going to be going sideways, maybe like up 100% and down 50%. Like, by sideways I mean it's very volatile, but pretty much just sideways for a year or two, because every single bear market has lasted at least a couple of years. And I think Bitcoin, even though these 4-year cycles, like even though the Bitcoin mining hash rate difficulty adjustment after every 4 years, it doesn't really make a difference at this point. In reality, it's only a small reduction in additional supply to Bitcoin. Even still, I think Bitcoin does follow these 4-year cycles, and because of that, I think crypto also will continue to follow this 4-year cycle, as it's happened every single time. So on the balance of probabilities, I think it will continue. So that means we had the last cycle in 2020, so we're getting the next cycle in 2024. So coming into 2024 is when crypto might start creeping up again, and it's 2022 now, so 2 years to wait and 2 years to accumulate at cheap prices, potentially, if things play out like that. But what happened in 2018? What was the best investing method in 2018? The best investing method in 2018, because we're in 2022, so the year after the major bull market, so the best thing to do in 2022 was, in 2018, was probably to hold cash. But if you wanted to be exposed to crypto, the best thing to do was to dollar cost average Bitcoin, because every single alt underperformed Bitcoin, and I think this will continue for a while. And I was wrong. I was too early to be buying alts. I was buying Solana at $30 because I thought it was cheap, and turns out it could get a lot cheaper. I think Solana it's not looking hot right now for Solana after this whole SBF fiasco. He was a big backer of SBF, so unfortunately I couldn't have seen that coming. But yeah, Solana was a little bit, like pretty much any altcoin, it's a little bit too early to be buying altcoins. But yeah, I was wrong about that anyway. It's not the time to be buying altcoins until the next crypto bull run, in my opinion. That's not what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be getting back to DCAing Bitcoin. I think that is by far the safest option in this environment, and people have been shitting on Bitcoin for so long, saying it's useless, all the alts are going to take it over, the flipping is going to happen, Ethereum's going to flip it. But I still have huge respect and belief in Bitcoin, so I'm just going to start dollar cost averaging back into Bitcoin again. And I think Bitcoin will reestablish itself as the king as everyone gets burned in altcoins. Like, I think altcoins, even though they're down a lot, they can go down a lot more over the next year. So over the next year, I think next couple of years for me, unless things change, I think if we're having anything similar to 2018, the only thing that I'll be doing is dollar cost averaging Bitcoin and maybe some Ethereum as well. And then coming into, let's say, after a year, like, I'm going to be very active in the space, researching projects and trying to find what will be the next gems of the next bull run. And then in a year or two's time, that's when I can start converting my Bitcoin into these altcoins, or just straight up buying these altcoins or NFT projects at low prices. Because even in 2020, just before the bull run took off, the altcoins were still insanely cheap. Like, Bitcoin had already started to take off. Bitcoin was already breaking all-time highs in 2020, but Cardano was still at 2 cents. Decentraland, I can't remember the price of it, but it was, way under 1 cent, even at those prices. So, like, even those two coins in 2020 went like well over 100x from those prices in 2020. So, like, at the very end of the bear market. So there's no rush to buy altcoins, in my opinion. I can buy altcoins at the very start of the next bull run. That's the optimal time to buy altcoins. For me now, it's just going to be dollar cost average Bitcoin. Very boring. I might not have a lot to talk about on these videos. I'm sure I'll find something to talk about, but I think that's probably the wisest decision for me, because everything else just seems way too risky, considering how bad 2018 was. So now that we hopefully have pretty much all the leverage washed out of the crypto markets, and Bitcoin and crypto is finally getting its last capitulation leg down to anywhere from like $7,000 to $13,000, we can finally, once that happens and everyone shouts crypto is dead, NFTs are dead, they're never coming back, once most people leave the space, they're kind of the indicators that, okay, we're finally at a bottom. Now is probably an amazing time to accumulate. All the indicators will be flashing. Things will be very volatile, so that's why probably adopting some sort of DCA strategy will be the wisest for me. So I'll just be DCAing into Bitcoin every paycheck that I get every month, and probably Ethereum as well, as it's established itself as a blue chip. And now that Solana is kind of not looking as hot as it was before, I think Ethereum will outperform every other L1 over the coming months and maybe even a couple of years. That's how I'm approaching the next couple of years in crypto. It's not going to be looking too hot, but this is really where, the millionaires are made in the bear markets. The biggest gains are made in the bear markets. So stick around, DCA, hunt those great projects that you can invest just before the next bull run, because that's where the biggest upside is obviously going to be coming from the altcoins. And then in the next bull run, when those altcoins start taking off, when they go 3, 4, 5, 10, 20x, then you convert that back into Bitcoin, or you convert it into US dollars. But that was the thing I didn't do in this bull run. I didn't take any profits again. So we'll see if I take profits this time. If you keep yourself involved and interested in the space, you have great potential to do very well in the next bull market. But you don't need to be in any rush. We have a lot of time, I think, on our hands. Right, thank you so much for watching. Cheers.